Jerusalem, which was founded by the famous Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar, a great rabbi of his time. I believe it was founded actually in the year 1741. He established it, and it was very much a yeshiva that was active during the 18th and 19th century, where many of the great rabbis of Eretz Yisrael would actually come about. Yeah, it was a Sephardi yeshiva, obviously from Morocco originally. The rabbis was, I think it was instituted around the year 1741, and I think it would eventually close down towards the later part of the 1800s. It's chronicled over. We're going to learn about the various Rosh Yeshiva that there was, including Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar, Rabbi Yonah Navon, Rabbi Yehuda Aish, Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Aish, Rabbi Yitzchak Kobo, and there was many great Talmudim, including the Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azle, Rabbi David Chaim Shmuel Chassan, and Rabbi David Amar. And a famous book will come out, especially from the place called the Rishon LeZion, which we're going to speak about later, which was various Chidushim of Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar, and on the Talmud in different various areas. So let's explore a bit of history within regards to it. Now, I think it was in the year 1739, was Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar came from the city of Sela in Morocco. He would go to Italy in his travels, and over there he would go with various different great Talmudim of his, great students, including Rabbi Chaim David Shmuel Chassan, Rabbi Shem Tov Gabbai, and great rabbis. Their target over here to go to Italy was to raise funds in order to establish an incredible yeshiva in the land of Israel over here, so that they could learn Torah at a very, very high level, and with Emunah and Be'ez Hashem bring the Geula much closer together. I think it was just the eve of the festival of Shavuot. They would arrive in Livorno in Italy over there, and they were greeted over there with great respect through many of the congregation over there. And in Livorno they will inject the Torah, they will study inside the Beit Midrash, teach over there. At the same time, I think they would raise funds at that point in time. They would go to Venice also. And Rabbi Chaim would establish a committee called Kenesset Yisrael, an organization that will bring about let's say helpings with regards to setting up this yeshiva in Eretz Israel over there. So they travel all over Israel. Various students will actually come and join it. They'll go to Venice. In Cheshvan in 1740, they will visit Modena, another great place over there. But we established Kenesset Yisrael there also. And I think at the end of the, let's just say, the winter time period there, they'll go to Pereira over there, and in the summer go back to Mantuba or to Mantuba over there, and then eventually returning to Livorno. In their travellings, they would raise a huge amount of money, bring back a lot of Talmudim, great Torah students over there, and make their way towards Eretz Yisrael. They will, in 1741, finally arrive in Akko. Their goal was to end up in Jerusalem, so they'd stop in Akko for a period of time, and they would start teaching and set up a temporary yeshiva, because I believe there was a rumor that there was a plague at that stage in time in Jerusalem that would actually, let's say, delay journey to Jerusalem to found the yeshiva there. So temporarily would try and convince them to move the yeshiva permanently to Tiberias, and there was many advantages potentially. He would say why to actually form the yeshiva in Tiberias, because I think he was close with many different dignitaries over there. And remember, they were injecting a lot of money over there, so Rabbi Abu Lafia would feel that, let's just say, the injection of Torah would greatly benefit Tiberias as a whole, and there was a lot of benefits. Tiberias is one of the 4 holy cities in Israel over there, so they would be there, and great time with their coming. But they would establish a temporary yeshiva at the time in Akko over there. Despite all this, remember, Rabbi Chaim Abu Lafia had a lot of connections with dignitaries and important people over there that would definitely help, let's say, help the yeshiva potentially thrive if it was set up there. But they would, anyway, Vitas made they would form it in Akko, but at the same time there would be connections with various places. Eventually they found out the rumor that the plague had finished in Jerusalem, and they would set out to Jerusalem to start up and head the yeshiva over there, and they explored the option because there was close connections with the Har El Omar and Sultan of Galil over there. But they would come in, and Kenesset Yisrael would form at the end in Jerusalem, which would I think at that point in time various different Talmudim there were. I think in Akko, I think the Chabora, let's just say the committee consists of great Talmudim, including Rabbi Shmuel Nachmani. I think he passed away. He happened to be the brother of Rabbi Chaim, and after I think Rabbi he happened to pass away, they would eventually end up in Biirushalayim, which is a phenomenal, let's just say, feat at that point in time. To come to Jerusalem to establish a yeshiva over there was absolutely incredible. So as a yeshiva actually set up there, the plague had finished, and they would form over there. Kenesset Yisrael actually came from Livorno, and it was a very great advantage for the Jerusalem committee, the Jerusalem community itself, since they raised a lot of money from Italy. They didn't have to raise much funds from Jerusalem. Everything was set up. I think they would set it up in the Kenesset Yisrael, in the Chatzer, the courtyard of another great rabbi who happens to have lived there, Rabbi Emmanuel Chai, who was a very famous rabbi of his time over there. As it will come out, and the yeshiva will grow as a chabura in of itself. There'll be many great different students. I think it was divided up into two different parts of the yeshiva. One for, let's just say, the higher, more advanced rabbinic students over there, and another section of the yeshiva was for people that was more, let's just say, in the earlier part of the Torah Talmudic learning, respectively. And many great chachamim will actually come about from various different vicinities over there, from Jerusalem, and people will learn constantly, and there was a great style of learning inside the yeshiva in of itself. Now, there was a Maya Nim. This was one of the Kutzot, let's just say, of the yeshiva. It was actually called over there the Lamdanim, the Talmidim, and there was Talmidim that were Matchilim over there. They would sit down in the yeshiva and really delve inside Torah. They would wrap themselves out in Talitot over there and engage within regards to learning the Oskim, the Talmud Bavli, various different tough sugiyot, difficult topics, Torah on the Rambam, for example, various psakim of the great rabbis, especially learning the Mishnah Torah. They will go into delve into over. The Sefer of the Rishon LeZion will actually be formed. This was a book which will be written on Masechet Brachot, Sukkah, Beitzah, Tanit, Moed Katan, Megillah, and Chagiga. These various different tractates, various different chidushim and teachings from this that will come about from the teachings of Rabbi Chaim Ibn Attar. I think this will be written or edited through Rabbi David Chaim Shmuel Hassan as a star student. Also, he would organize in a brilliant fashion the book, the Hakdamah. Took his book called the Pre-Ta'ar on the Shulchan Aruch, on the Code of Jewish Law, on Yorodea, and various different tractates within regards to, and the great rabbis of the yeshiva will also very much help within regards to this. It's let's just say there was a Talmudim that would study the Derech B'kiyut, learning, like say, tractates in a faster fashion over there. Also, there was various different groups learning in the Kenesset Yisrael. Well, many of it was mentioned, I think, inside these books. And what a brilliant Talmudim they actually have. In the night time, they will learn the Talmudim in groups also. Various different. They will go into various different topics, especially the Chotz Rav Al-Fas, Talmud Bavli, Shulchan Aruch. There will be a small group that will deal with the 6 orders of the Mishnah also. On Shabbat, they will daven, I think, the Kotel, respectively, the Kotel Maravi, in the Western Wall. They will come together and bring about the Emunah groups. Also, in the night time, they will actually be gathered together, teaching various different Hiddushim from the great rabbis of the yeshiva. Actually, at that stage, it's under Chidah, Rabbi Yosef Chaim David Ezra will become an integral part of the yeshiva, also learning over there. Especially all throughout the night, there was Mishmarot groups in the night time that would actually be learning various parakim of the Mishnayot, the Sefer Zohar, and the Parshat Shmuel, respectively. And Rabbi Chaim Ibn Attar will found various different bases of different learnings of Kabbalah inside the yeshiva that would actually come up. Tikkun Chatzot, for example, will be done there. And many of the great rabbis of Jerusalem will actually come up from the yeshiva. I think they'll visit and do tefillot by the great kibrei of the tzaddikim, great rabbis that had been of yesteryear that were buried nearby, and we should point that out also. Now, I think that Rabbi Chaim Ibn Attar would sadly pass away in the year 1743, and other great rabbis, after he passed away, I think it was Rabbi Yosef Amzalek, one of the main students of the great students over there, who was actually, I think, would write the book called Kenesset Yisrael, will actually, I think, serve temporarily as, let's say, the head rabbi of the institution, of the great yeshiva over here. Now, great rabbis were, let's say, touted to actually come in and head the yeshiva in of itself, including they would approach Rabbi Yaakov Shaul, I think from Egypt, or he was Rabbi Shlomo El Ghazi, who was Rabbi of Egypt, Cairo. Rabbi Yaakov Shaul was Rabbi of Izmir. But I don't think they would take on that position, but they were rumored or connected to it. Eventually, I think in 1746, they appointed Rabbi Yonah Navon to become the head of the yeshiva. He was very great rabbi. I think in the year 1749, the book, the Rishon LeZion, would actually come out through all these rabbis actually bringing it about. I think Rabbi Navon will also later on become connected also with another yeshiva called Gedulat Mordechai, which was actually founded there through Rabbi Mordechai Taluk from Morocco. I think with other, so he would twin that job in of itself. I think Rav Shem Tov Gabbai obviously had an integral part in formatting the Kenesset Yisrael Yeshiva, let's just say in of itself. Come with the year 1758. So I think he would be working at that point in time, Rabbi Navon, in the was strongly connected to Gedulat Mordechai Yeshiva, and there was also Yeshiva Ifar Anuyim Yeshua or Anavim Yeshua, respectively, which is a thing founded by another Talmud Muvdak, let's just say, of that's of Rabbi Chaim, Rabbi David Chaim Shmuel Chazan, respectively. So Kenesset Yisrael would go on at that point in time. I don't think it went to the great levels at the time as it was in Rabbi Chaim Ibn Attar's era. And I think come with the year 1758, Rabbi Yehuda Ayish would actually become the Rosh Yeshiva over there. Now, after a few years, I believe that will be taken over, that's it, by Rabbi Moshe Yosef Mordechai Yuchas, a great rabbi of Jerusalem, who I think also became the Rishon LeZion, if I'm not mistaken. After he passed away, I think in the year 1805, the yeshiva was headed from another great Talmud, Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Ayish, who I think was also maybe possibly a Rishon LeZion. And in 1808, once again, the yeshiva will continue going through various changes. His son, Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Ayish, I think will go to various different cities in Western Europe to, let's say, collect funds for the yeshiva and come up to Heitav Kuf Ein Vav. The yeshiva, I think, will be learning in the yeshiva, would see Rabbi Menachem Mendel Mishkolov. He would actually be part of the yeshiva also. 1823 was notable also, where I think yeshiva Rabbi Yosef David Miyuchas will actually come in also, and once again, I think eventually Rabbi Yitzhak Kobo would head the yeshiva at one stage in time, and I think he was also connected to the famous yeshiva Beit Yaakov Pereira, which we mentioned on various occasions before. And it's actually interesting, the philanthropist Moses Montefiore, I think in 1866, who mentioned various different details about the yeshiva at one stage in time of that part. It's the famous chronicler Meir Ben Yahu would actually list that between 1866 and 1877, it seems that yeshiva actually weakened to some fashion, and maybe he predicts that maybe the yeshiva ceased operating for sure after 1877, but I'm not sure on the time period after. I think also Rav Suzin was also fronting the yeshiva at one stage of time in, let's just say, in this window of time period respectively. We can learn actually more within regards to this famous yeshiva. Remember, we spoke about various rabbis that were also connected to this yeshiva on various different points in time. So who are the Rosh Yeshiva? Let's just examine a bit about them. We mentioned Rabbi Yosef Hamzalag. He was appointed after Rabbi Chaim Ibn Attar, I think in the year Heitav Kuf. Rabbi Yonah Navon, he was Rosh Yeshiva for a period of time. He was a very important tough kid. Rabbi Chaim Mondovi, I think he was one of the great rabbis of Italy. He would also head the yeshiva after Rabbi Yonah Navon. Rabbi Yehuda Ayish, he was a rabbi of Algiers, and he would become the Rosh Yeshiva, I think, in 1757. And until 1760, Rabbi Yosef Mordechai Yosef Miyuchas would head the yeshiva in the Heitav Kuf Samachvav. Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Ayish, who was also Rishon LeZion, would head the yeshiva, I think, at the start of the 19th century. Rabbi Yosef David Miyuchas would head the yeshiva also. Rabbi Yitzhak Kobo, who we mentioned about before, I think he was also a chief rabbi at one window of time. He would be, after Rabbi Miyuchas, I think, had passed away, Rabbi Yosef David Miyuchas was the Rosh Yeshiva, and Rabbi Yedidia Suzin would be the Rosh Yeshiva, I think, in the year Hey Tafresh Chavav. Now, who were the famous students in this yeshiva? Included Rabbi Shmuel Nachmani, who was a rabbi of Rabbi Shimshon Chaim Nachmani. And great rabbis they happen to be that joined together. Great rabbis of Italy, must point out. Then there was also Rabbi Yehuda HaKohen, one of the great rabbis that would join Rabbi Chaim, I think, in Italy. He passed away in Sivan. Also Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azaleh was another famous student, also popularly known as the Chida, the teacher. Rabbi Yehuda Amzaleh, he was known by the name Chacham Hashalom, and very, very famous rabbi we should mention about also before. Another great rabbi was Rabbi Yehuda Di Abila, who was one of the great Talmidim of Rabbi Chaim of Morocco, Rabbi Chaim ibn Natar, and was had an integral part. Rabbi Avram Shmuel Zagonti, who had joined Rabbi Chaim ibn Natar in Italy. Rabbi David Amar also would join the yeshiva of Rabbi Chaim ibn Natar in Jerusalem. He was author of Tfilat LeDavid, when Hilchot Brachot was printed in Saloniki at one stage in time. Then Rabbi David Chaim Shmuel Hassan, who we spoke about, was the Talmud Hamufak of Rabbi Chaim ibn Natar, who would actually write the preface, I believe, to the book, the Rishon LeZion. Another great rabbi, Rabbi Shem Tov Gabai, was one of the people that appointed as obviously a star student to help him found the yeshiva, and was part of the preface and signatories of the famous book, the Rishon LeZion. Another great rabbi, Rabbi Yaakov Perianti, he would actually reach Rabbi Chaim ibn Natar in Morocco, or maybe in Italy at one stage in time, or will be one of the founding, like say, Talmidim in the yeshiva. Also Rabbi Yaakov Atzba'an, Rabbi Shlomo Argoranti, Rabbi Eliyahu Dudi, Rabbi Ezra Lawrence, Rabbi Bochor Levi, Rabbi Tzvi Levi, Rabbi Mordechai Marabi. These were all great rabbis of the highest caliber that would actually join the yeshiva at one stage in time, and they are mentioned over there. And Rabbi Shlomo, Yosef Shlomo Aryeh, he would actually one of the signatures on one of the writings with regards to various reasonings of the yeshiva. There's other famous people we can mention: Avram Baruch Tzortosh, Rabbi Moshe Yitzchak Levi, Rabbi Chaim Rachmim Miyuchas. These are all great rabbis. Rabbi Raphael Avram Bachor Miyuchas, Rabbi Raphael Yaakov Yisrael Miyuchas, Rabbi Mordechai Suzin, Rabbi Moshe Suzin, Rabbi Natan Amar. Really great rabbis. It's actually interesting. We have to point out that Rabbi Chaim Yehuda Ayish would actually go out as a Shadash for Cheder Rabbanan on behalf of the yeshiva, I think between the years 1808 to 1810. So very, very interesting. I recommend everyone to learn more. Please watch over the videos we did on Rabbi Chaim ibn Natar, and also on Rabbi Hassan, and also Rabbi Gabai, Shem Tov Gabai. We spoke. Enjoy some of the views over here, and I'll leave you to it. Enjoy, take advantage, and we'll speak in a few minutes, friends, over here. Take care. Enjoy the views as well. Have a good time. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching. This will complete the video. Gave you, as a special treat, some scenes of beautiful Bet Shemesh on this special edition, where we spoke about the Kenesset Yisrael Yeshiva in Jerusalem. Wish you all a fantastic day, and thanks everyone. Subscribe to the channel, please. Please subscribe everyone to the channel.